And a pleasant good afternoon on this Wednesday, December 15th. From all of us here at Mesilla Valley News, we are taking the time to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as we look ahead to 2022. And we get one of our final podcasts of the year talking to our friends over at Tresco. We've had fun with this journey, and thanks to our friend Stacey Allen who puts this all together, we get to know more about Tresco all the time for the 53 years that they have been serving our community and helping out in this area. That's why we decided to go ahead and change the name to Let's Talk Tresco. And as always, we invite you to share this podcast, whether you be listening to it on air or sending the video and audio to wherever you want to send to. Share it to your friends, share it to everybody, and get to know more about Tresco. We have some great interviews, including we've heard from the CEO of Tresco and more. If you want to learn more about their services, that's great. And a little bit later, I'll bring up the website again at Tresco.inc, so you know where to find everything that you need about Tresco and also the job and opportunities that are coming up in a new year. If you're looking for a start to a new year, we will follow it. We're also following state COVID mandate rules. I know in the past we've been a little more loose, and while we're all vaccinated and make sure that we're okay, we will make sure to continue our masks on until the state changes rules or anything that is such. So for the time being, we appreciate you for that. And then again, I always ask the question, and our guest, Michael, I'm going to put him a little bit on the spot right now. Michael, who is Tresco?
Who is Tresco? Tresco is somebody that's been a staple in the community in Doniana and southern New Mexico for a little bit over 50 years. And it's a staple for people who understand that we have a special mission to a particular population of people who many years ago, and not too long ago, didn't really have a lot of options in life. And those are people with disabilities and families with babies with disabilities.
That is correct. For 53 years, Tresco has been providing professional and individualized services, supports, and opportunities to people at any age with different abilities, their families, and communities that we serve. Our special guest is going to be Michael Amendares. He is the Tresco's Children's Service Director. So before I start to go into what questions I want to ask, I want to go right into you first. What does the Children's Director do?
Oversight for two different programs. Tresco Children's Services is the home to two different agencies, TOTS Early Interventions and Day One Home Visiting. And a lot of it is oversight for the state expectations, funding source expectations, and also answering to the executive leadership at Tresco.
I tell you what, children development has been something that has been very tough, especially through the pandemic. Mm-hmm. How have you guys adjusted, and how has Tresco been able to do that?
Thankfully, our funding sources for both programs have been very liberal in helping us with reimbursements and allowing us to do a bill as high as we can for telehealth services. So technically right now, we're still, our majority of our services are being offered via telehealth, meaning we start either a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting on our end, and then the family picks up on the other end using their tablet, phone, or computer, and we're able to do the developmental instruction and family interaction instruction that way.
It's funny you bring that up because I don't think a lot of people were prepared for the Zooms as the way it was. And I can only imagine with the kids that you were working with, how difficult and how much resources had to be put in and knowing that in our rural area where we live, and you got county areas where you can't even get an internet signal, just go to a football game and try to get a signal or a basketball game, and you can't get it, no matter where, high school, anywhere. How was it to try to get these telesupport systems going and get them run, especially through the pandemic, knowing a lot of people didn't have all this?
It was very difficult. You are correct. There's many places in southern New Mexico where families do not have either the technology to connect to the internet or to connect to any network, or they do not even own what is typically owned today, a phone that can do that type of thing. And luckily, the state worked with us and allowed us to bill for our services and our developmental instruction and our home visiting instruction via phone call if needed, and we were allowed to do that. So that did help, and we did do a lot of our interactive programmatic services via phone call for families who just didn't have that. But we were also we're lucky to be with a company that's able to help provide for dedicated services in whenever you need technology. And so we did get some of those hotspots through Verizon that we were able to loan out to families sometimes if we needed to, and then maybe go and pick them up when we were done. And that way they were able to connect with us. And we also did have a few notebooks that we purchased to provide to families who didn't have
It
that.
almost seems like you and the public schools were in every competition to try to get whatever computer, whatever laptop you could get. And I mean, but
Seemed
I'm
like
not,
it.
and I know it might sound funny now today, but when you think about going back, that must have been the craziest thing. You're trying to think of how many children did you need to get taken care of with the telehealth support?
450 to 500 kids within both programs. And one of the hardest things that you kind of touched on it in, what were the difficulties? We have a lot of our staff members are from different generations.
Mm-hmm.
They got into business at different points in their life. And some of our staff members just were not really happy about using anything technology. And that was a big problem, trying to encourage them and show them that it could work because, they never had to do it. And I think that was one of the best things during the pandemic is that it helped people learn and to be able to trust the process of technology and practice.
Michael, we hear a lot of people talk about, mental health, the issues that the kids had to deal with and stuff. I mean, you're right in the front line. You got to get the telehealth part going, knowing that missing 1 week or 2 weeks of them not having any connection or any of the services they had before, that could have been disastrous in so many ways.
Oh, yes. Yes, you're correct. The state did offer us the ability for both programs to offer services to be put on hold at the family's request because at the very beginning of the pandemic, nobody really knew too much, and as you're saying that, Ernesto, I look back on what we know now.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel so silly about how we were panicking about certain things back then. But again, it was just the unknown.
Nobody knew.
And that was one of the things, how do we how do we competently not, miss something that's really going to be needed? And family therapy services, mental health services, infant mental health services were very hard to do because you need that face-to-face interactive process. But somehow staying dedicated to it and being able to, really persuade families that of the importance, it somehow worked. We did have to do a lot of incentive. We did give out some gift cards for families who were able to log on a regular basis
Mm-hmm.
and things that they needed, resources. So we had to get very creative.
Well, I'm glad you did, but that was not like, I think I can also remember back to the day, we'll be back in a month. Well, this is going to be 2 months.
Yes.
We didn't think it'd go a full year and a half. In fact, it even came up on one of my feeds the other day. I can't remember. I stood in line for an hour and a half trying to get into Walmart, even just a year ago. And I know it sounds funny now, but trust me, it was not a very interesting situation. But that also goes to show that this is the dedication that you have working with the state. This is dedication that people put in, and a lot of volunteers and stuff. We've met some of the other staff members that have worked here. We've all talked about this, and even our friends that help out at White Sands Missile Range, you didn't know. And with all the clearance issues and everything else, it wasn't like this turned out like anyone had plans for it. It almost was like having to be written at the time. And with children's development, that is hard to write this, especially when you can hold them, talk to them, give them the support they need. They don't have that. It's a whole different children's support, isn't it?
It is. Families kind of gave the feedback. Without you being here, I feel like I'm doing all the work and you guys are doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, in a lot of ways, our promotion of the services was always face-to-face in the natural environment. And all of a sudden, this is a 180-degree difference from face-to-face and natural environment. So like I said, being able to persuade parents that what we were doing was really helping coach them to the outcomes that they expected for their children. That did benefit parents in that sense, but it also helped benefit us to be creative. Because if another pandemic comes up where we don't really totally get out of this one, we have our experience to fall back on. Thank God.
Now there's the resources in place. I hate to say it with Omicron and so much uncertainty as we head into a winter season where they're putting more alerts. And I know people read news, watch headlines, and are all trying to keep up what's going on. Are we ready if we had to do this again?
We are ready because we have always been ready. Our executive team here at Tresco, our CEO, COO, and CFO have all been very supportive, especially at the beginning of making sure that we had the optics of looking that we were open. There were a lot of programs like TOTS and Day One Home Visiting that were closing down because they just did because of the unknown. But we did our very best to support as much as we could. And as we hear about concerns about Omicron and Delta and vaccine, whether to get vaccinated, not get vaccinated, I can't make my 3-year-old wear a mask, but he has to or she has to. We just kind of have learned how to be creative and persuade. And that's what we've had to do. We've had to persuade each other and lean on each other more than we ever did before the pandemic. And I'm talking about staff. And if it wasn't for our executive leadership, I don't think we would have been able to do that.
I got to ask about the Great Recession. How is that affecting the children development? Do we have enough people, staff, or is this now you need to go to the website that we've been putting up on our social media part here for people to sign up over at Tresco.inc? What do we need to do?
Well, one of the things that has happened is, for a long time, yes, we were hearing that the recession was taking away from opportunity for people to work for Tresco in other areas and other divisions. And it didn't necessarily, we were kind of a recession free in the children's services because we do tend to hire people that have either some type of special licensure or you at least need to have a bachelor's degree. But that recession has hit us as well. We've had a little bit of difficulty getting some positions filled. But
what's the most difficult position?
Family service coordination, developmental specialist, physical therapist. And I say physical therapist not because they don't want to work for Tresco. It's just that in their licensure, they're very much to be clinical and, have people come to them. And they are very good at doing that. But the EI services are not clinical. They're not medical based. It's more of the educational in the home, and it's with babies. And a lot of, motor therapists tend to enjoy the clinic with the adult part of aspect of it. But the other two areas, it just started to happen. We had people that said, yes, we'll take a job, and somehow they didn't show up. But that had never happened before, so we were not recession free.
No, nobody is. And I tell you what, we're all part of it, and we're all dealing with that. If you're just joining us in, this is the Sea Valley News. Let's talk Las Cruces. We're speaking with Michael Amendatis. He is the Tresco Children's Service Director. And I'm going to bring up your website here, and I want you to take a look at this, totsnm.org. So if people look at this here, show me some of the things that people need to go see, and what do they need to go to and check out? Obviously, the services is the biggest thing, so people know exactly. And real quick, what areas do you service?
We service families who have babies birth to age 3, all of Doniana and Sierra County. When I say all of Doniana, I mean from, Salem, Hatch, Ray, all the way, down to Sunland Park, Santa Teresa, Chaparral, and, Greater Las Cruces and Hatch as well. As far as the services, we offer a cascade of services, which is motor therapy, speech and language therapy for communication, developmental specialists, family therapy for mental health and family mental health. Developmental specialist. Social work. We also do social work. And everybody gets family service coordination. Family service coordination is basically, the people who take care and maintain the case in much like a case manager would in other areas.
As I go through the website, even nutrition, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech and vision, these are things that are important to children's development. And that's why we have day one, right?
Yes. Day one is a home visiting program. There's a lot of similarities to the early intervention, but what makes them specifically different are two things. Early intervention, you have to actually qualify for. Day one, there is no qualifying event or process. It's anybody that has a baby birth to 3 or mothers who are expecting. So they do start their services with expectant mothers. And at the beginning of our services, we did offer services to babies birth to 3. But just recently, as of July 1st of this year, the home visiting services have been expanded to 5 years old. So now we are offering services beyond 3 to 3 and 4-year-olds until they get into kindergarten. And that is a big, big thing for Tresco and for the state as well.
Now, serving children 5 and up, that is new, like you said at the beginning of the year. How many families are you serving in the Day 1 program?
The opportunity for services is capped by the state. At any point, we can ask for more families. Right now, we're at 200 families. And it can be a combination of anybody in the household, and it's per family. So you can have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. We provide both of those children's services as one family. And so it's a process of teaching and getting families together and the relationship building amongst even the siblings and the parents, because parenting is not easy. We were talking about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, we're not easy.
And you always need a friend. And that's what Day 1 is. Day 1 is a friend of the parents, of the families, how to include dads a little bit more, how to include older siblings or other generations in the home.
how does someone become a part of TOTS or Day One? How do they got to do? I know we got the website Tresco.inc, but obviously I'm looking here at this site as well. Is there information here that will help us out too?
Yes, it should have a link to the main website, trescoinc.org. And if you want to contact us, you can contact us off of the main website, the TOTS website, or the Day One website. And that goes back directly emails to all of us that are on the leadership committee there for Children's Services. And if it links you to the main Tresco website, you can do the same thing. And you can also look for the employment opportunities as well.
As if I look at the locations, obviously people are going to notice it's different from the other part of Tresco. You have to make a drive over here to this side of town from one side to the other. You're on the Nevada area, correct?
Well, yeah. So we are located at 2325 Nevada, whereas the main hub of Tresco is 1800 Copper Loop. That has its challenges, but it's also okay. You know, all the bosses are way over here, and I'm over there. That's fine. You know, I'm not complaining.
It's almost kind of nice in some ways.
Yeah,
I'm going to guess it.
nice.
We didn't say that out loud. All right.
But we also have an office of Tresco Children's Services offices in Anthony, New Mexico, and in TRC, New Mexico as well, which is the hub for all of Sierra County.
All right. One of the most important questions people want to know: how much does it cost? What are the fees? Is this like a subscription? What am I doing?
Very good question, because I think this is one of the mysteries of our services, because we've been doing it since 1979, and Day One has been part of Tresco since 2017. So it's all 100% cost free. It's free of cost at all. It does not matter the socioeconomic status. It doesn't matter your educational background, and it doesn't matter your immigration status either.
Okay, that's good to know.
If you have a baby and there is a need, whether it's something inside the family or some kind of medical or environmental risk of development, you qualify for those services. Day One home visiting or TOTS early intervention.
And on the Facebook and on all the social medias, you can see the phone number right now that you can dial, knowing that these services are for free. That's important. Michael, I've got to talk a little bit about you personally here. Sure. Now. You've done this for years. How many years have you done it?
12 years.
12 years.
12 years at Tresco. Longest tenure I've had. Previously 8 years before at MSU.
Let's go back to year one. What were you thinking when you got here?
I did not know what to expect. I knew of the program. I knew of the good of the program. It's just that I did not understand everybody I was working with, and everybody had a very good heart. And they all had their own way of wanting to help families. And I walked in at a time when there was a big attempt to put organization, because for many, many years, TOTS early intervention was the only game in town from 1994 all the way to about 2004. And then in 2006, we got a lot of competition in the community that does the same thing we do. And people didn't know how to handle competition. It was very disturbing for a lot of people. So that's what I walked into, the heyday of trying to be a very viable business that is competing in the same field with other agencies. So it was very, very interesting at the time.
Fast forward to 12 years, what have you learned?
Oh man, I've learned how to be able to engage my employees in every aspect to help them gain the confidence that they need to deliver the services as needed to the families, make sure that the family needs are paramount, and how to lead that way. And over the years, I've done some things that were not effective, some things were medium effective, some things highly effective. But at the end of the day, I've learned how to, no matter who comes to work for Children's Services, how to help them and provide them the resources and the leadership to maintain that gift of giving, that gift of service, and make it paramount.
I always ask this of anybody for any job. What's the most rewarding part of it? What do you find the most rewarding?
The outcomes. It's wonderful to see. Recently, we had a Chamber of Commerce meet and greet. First time we've had it in person. And two of the special guests were a Day One parent with her child and a former family that used TOTS a very long time ago. Their son was a junior at Centennial at the time. He was a child that was born with Down syndrome, and he came and said the most wonderful things. And to see this young man moving much more beyond what was thought at the time that he was born, that he was a young baby. He did thank Tresco a great deal for their intervention and their care. And I guess those are the things that I really like to get out of it. And those are the best parts of it, to see people come out of it and be very successful and thankful.
TOTSNM.org. That's the website. That's where people can reach you. I'm glad you take the time to tell us this journey. I know we'll be talking with you more. I'm going to get talk to some more of your staff members and stuff as well. And I can't wait to hear what their stories are and their rewarding part. But I'm glad you've done this for the many years that you've done it, and now helping the 53-year tradition here that's been going on.
Thank you very much.
Once again, the most important part, the fees and all the costs. I'm going to bring up the website once again. And you're very proud of this website, aren't you? It's got everything.
It's very good. And there's also the day1nm.org. That's the or .net. That is also the day one website as well.
Got it. You got all the part that's there. They're live there. You can like them on Facebook too as well. Follow them as well too here. And so
you can see our commercials on there. You see a lot of these commercials on the website that are also on YouTube.
Gotcha. So we will gladly put that up there as well, and people can see that. Michael Amendatis, thank you so much for joining us. We're glad that you get to be a part of it, and we're glad that you get to be a part here of Let's Talk Tresco, our final show of the year in 2021 and 2022. We continue our journey in telling you the stories of the people that work here and the why they do it, and this is what it's all about. You want to be a part of the staff, you want a career change looking ahead to the future, go to Tresco Inc., Tresco.inc, and they'll get you set up. I'm right on that, Stacy?
TrescoInc.org.
TrescoInc.org. There you go. TrescoInc.org. Want to make sure that we get that taken care of. I put it up on the website there. You can sign up for all the great job applications. If you're looking for a career change different in 2022, come work here at Tresco. Have yourselves a great one, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Michael. I want to wish you that as well.
Christmas, Happy New Year.
Stacy behind the scenes, and Martine, our producer, who helped us get this show on the air today.
It is the best time of the year.
It is the best time of the year because I'm ready for some tamales and lunch. Let's go. Thank you for being a part. This is Mesilla Valley News, and Let's Talk Tresco.